Using chunking can really speed up your language learning and help you to speak English more fluently, more quickly. So, let's go. I'm Deirdre Nicholas from Palm Tree Teaching TV, your personal language coach, teacher and speaker. So, what is chunking and how can you do it? Find out in this video, which is step 4 in my series on how to speak English fluently and confidently in 6 months. Forget grammar rules and vocabulary lists. If you really want to improve your fluency skills so that the language comes out of your mouth easily and readily, you want to use the vocabulary, not just study it. So you need to start chunking. So, what is chunking? Well, let's just imagine you and I were having a conversation and I'd say things like, yes, I agree with you, or in my opinion, and then you might start to talk to me about your visit to the shops and you'd say, well, by the way, we didn't stay long at the shops. Now, what do all these sentences have in common? Well, they all contain chunks of language. Things like, yes, I agree, in my opinion, by the way, didn't stay long. So, chunking is fixed phrases or patterns that are learnt in chunks as a unit, not as individual words. You learn the whole thing without thinking about it, really. Chunking is using groups of words that are found frequently together. They're bites of language. So even in fact, when you start to learn English, do you remember some of the first things that you actually had to learn? Things like, how are you? Well, that's a chunk. And another example, when a child says, I want, plus a noun, and often they receive something that they're asking for. So that's a chunk of language, I want plus noun. Although, try not to say that, because I want's a bit rude. So they're phrases and chunks of language that are acquired without breaking them down into individual words. They're just as they are. And you know, learning in chunks of language is the real key to getting fluent. It's one of the big secrets, and actually getting fluent quickly as well. Have you ever wondered how it is that native speakers speak so fast, so quickly and so fluently at the same time?
To be or not to be, that is the question whether it is noble in the mind to suffer those things and hours of outrageous fortune, to consequence, to see of troubles and by posing in them, to die, to sleep, pretend to dream. You get the idea.
Well, here's one of the secrets. They have a big library of these chunks of language or fixed phrases inside their heads, just ready to be picked out and used. They use them frequently. If you've noticed, often they use the same phrases. So why not copy us native speakers and do exactly the same thing yourself? You can use it for your second language production, so English or whatever language you're learning. Now, there are 2 big advantages to chunking and learning English through chunking. The first one is speed. So you can speak and write much faster because all you have to do is to bring out these fixed phrases from your head and bring them out of your mouth. And they're ready for you to use instantly. And accuracy as well is the second point, the second big advantage, because you know you've learnt them from native speakers, so you know that these phrases are going to be accurate, so you don't need to worry. So how are you going to do this? Well, let me start by telling you what you're not going to do. You're not going to just study phrasal verb dictionaries or study collocation books. That's not real English phrases. They're okay, but they're not good for finding real chunks of the language. Instead, it's much more fun that you notice them yourself, and then you can learn them in chunks. Notice them yourself, you say. How easy is that? Well, actually, I'm going to show you. Here's my guide on how to find chunks of English and how to learn them. Oh, and before I go on, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell so that you don't miss out on any of my videos and lessons. Don't forget, this is step 4 in my fluency guide, so you need to watch each of the lessons. Also, if you'd like me to be your personal coach, don't forget to email me on the email address below, deirdre@palmtreeteaching.com. I really hope that you take advantage of this. Now, there are 3 main places that you can get really good examples of native speaking chunks of language. The first one is phrase books. Now you may be slightly surprised to hear that, but actually they're a really good starting place for finding real English phrases as spoken by native speakers. Just make sure that it's one of those phrase books that has sentences and not just word lists. The second place to find chunks of English is in English books. But make sure they're English books for native speakers and not just for learners of English, because that way you'll get proper English, real English as spoken by us native speakers. Also, make sure the books are modern, because you don't want to sound like Charles Dickens these days. It would sound really strange. Now, number 3, the third place to find vocabulary and chunks of language in context is through videos, YouTube videos, audios, podcasts, and TV programs. Now, most films and most YouTube videos now have subtitles, which makes it much easier for you to use the language and find it and make notes of these chunks. So what you do is you go through these resources and listen to them or watch them, whatever you choose to do, and make notes in a notebook of all the phrases and the chunks of language that you hear. You'll remember them much easier if you find them for yourself. It's real active learning. May seem like quite a lot, but I can tell you it'll really speed up your fluency. So for the next stage then, you're going to ask me, well, how do you learn them? Well, I'm going to tell you. It's really easy and really simple, and you'll like this. You just simply learn them by heart. That's all you have to do. You play the recordings of the original, if it's a film, or if it's a video, or if it's a podcast. You repeat it back until you can say it confidently. You'll have written it in your little notebook, and then you record yourself and compare it to the original. So not only do you learn the chunks, you also learn the rhythm and the intonation of the speaking. You can also use flashcards, of course, to remember them, write on your little phrases and carry them around all day in your pocket, looking at them frequently. So it's easy, isn't it? So in my next video, I'm going to share with you some of the most frequently used chunks and fixed phrases which we use here in England. So make sure you watch out for that. Also, make sure you go and watch my other videos as well. Like and subscribe to this amazing channel where you will learn English fast and improve your English fluency in a fun way. I hope you really enjoyed this video. Enjoy your English, and I'll see you next time. Bye!